alarming news, record number of deportations in the last 2 years under the Obama administration. Pag-usapan po natin yan and some explanations about some immigration updates for you dito sa ating American Dream.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Attorney Richard Lowe joining us this afternoon for our American Dream segment, explaining immigration laws to us. And it's very complex, it's very tedious. But let's first talk about that record number of deportations. As far as you're concerned, or do we have Kababayans, do we have Filipinos among those, that number?
Oh, obviously so. When you have 780,000 or so people being removed from the United States, a large portion of that, I think, is going to be Filipinos.
So what's going on? For ICE, I guess it's a matter of just implementing the laws, but they've become stricter and stricter and stricter, while at the same time, Obama has been pushing for immigration reform.
Yeah, you know, this is under the guise of, I think Obama said what we're going to do is get rid of serious criminal aliens, and so we're going to go after them by enlisting local police forces and local communities to sort of weed them out.
Serious criminal aliens.
People who have committed serious crimes, right?
Okay.
But what's happening is basically a lot of people are getting ensnared in this. So people with traffic violations, people that just come into contact with the police, particularly in smaller communities, are being, put over to ICE so that they can be removed.
Is it safe now to tell our people, especially even those that have their green cards on hand, to be careful also with, traffic violations, minor misdemeanors?
I think you should, if you're an immigrant, you should always be careful.
Okay.
Obviously, if you commit a crime, that's going to put you into the sights of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and that's the time to get an attorney. But just normally, you need to be careful as an immigrant, because I think right now there is a preponderance of people targeting this group of people.
And speaking of getting an attorney, you have tips for us today on how to get a good attorney that's perfect for us, correct?
That's
because
right.
There's lots of immigration lawyers out there, and sometimes even if you sign up with one, you only get to talk to the paralegal. So what's the first step that we need to do if we're scouting, we're on the market for an immigration lawyer?
Well, I think if you're on the market for an immigration lawyer, taking the people just sort of trying to find somebody who can help them with immigration and not necessarily looking for an immigration lawyer. And I think that's the most important thing, is look for a professional, somebody who's licensed to practice law.
I know some people say, oh, it's easy, go online, download the form, fill it out, and send it. Why is that not always advisable?
Well, there's a saying, it's an attorney who has himself for a client has a fool for a client, right?
Okay.
So you should really look to professionals to help you to do this. I mean, you can't, the forms themselves can be deceptively easy. The questions themselves can be easy, but the implications, the consequences of answering those questions are very complex, and you can run into trouble very quickly.
And you talk about checking with the state of California, the State Bar of California, if the lawyer is actually licensed to help you.
That's right. You can go to the California website, the State Bar, and just put in a person's name and find out whether or not they're licensed to practice in the state of California. And if they are licensed, their name will appear, and you can see whether or not they've had any complaints against them or any disciplinary action by the State Bar.
Okay, the second point, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, I get this so many times. People come into my office and they say, well, this other person told me that it would be fine, that everything would be hunky-dory. And I almost feel like saying, if anybody tells you there's not going to be a problem, turn around and run, because invariably this is a very complex area of the law, and you're going to run into problems, and you need somebody who can understand those problems, not somebody who's just going to gloss them over and say there's nothing to worry about.
And some attorneys do that because they want to get your retainer, right?
Yes.
Is that how it goes? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to give people bad news,
hope.
right?
Yeah.
You don't want to say, well, this doesn't look very good.
Right.
So people say, oh, it's not a problem. But I think that's the wrong approach. I mean, I think it behooves, if you're paying somebody to give you advice, you want them to give you true advice.
Okay.
And you want that advice to be helpful. And if it's not helpful, to not let you know what the problems are in your case.
And I guess that's a little bit connected to the next tip, which is honesty is the best policy. If I lose my honor, I lose myself. What is that?
Well, I think there's a big temptation sometimes to sort of gloss over facts or to kind of change the facts to make it appear that your situation is better than it really is. And that invariably will lead to problems. And almost always, can cause worse problems than it is just by telling the truth.
Telling the truth.
And I think it's very important to put your integrity out there and be honest and work with the problem in an honest way, because that will get you to a better solution.
And so you're talking about when you consult with a lawyer, just lay out all the cards, right? Your lawyer is your partner. The lawyer's on your side, so you can't hide from the lawyer.
Absolutely. Do not hide anything from the attorney. You're not doing yourself any favors by hiding facts from your attorney. Your attorney needs to know everything in order to properly represent you.
Okay, what about those that talk to just paralegals? Is it our right, and at what point does it become, not good or not cool to be talking to just a paralegal? Like if an attorney meets you one time, and then you never see him again, but then the law firm is helping you with your case, is that a red flag?
I think that's a red flag. I mean, I think you should have access to the attorney. That's what you're paying for. You're not paying for access to a paralegal. A paralegal shouldn't be giving you legal advice. I mean, there's a part of the process where you're filling out forms and getting the information you need, and at that point the paralegal can do that work. But if you have a legal question as to how to approach this problem or what to do, that should be answered by an attorney, not by a paralegal. And if you're not getting access to your attorney, then that's really, I think, an issue, because you're not really getting everything that you can for your money.
All right, so you're being shortchanged.
I think so.
Okay, thank you for clearing those points with us. Also, another thing that we want to make mention, the H-1B visa cap has been reached. This is a surprise to everyone.
I think it was a big surprise. It's 4 months out, and then we've already capped out, and it just goes to show you that there's still a demand for workers here in the United States despite the recession.
Okay, so for those who weren't able to file, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, the last date was the 26th. If you actually file January 26th, you're put into a lottery for the remaining slots, and then it'll open up again for the next year in April 1st.
Okay, and if you are in that situation, or whether or not, and if you have other immigration problems, that's the number to call on the screen to schedule your office consultation. Thank you so much for explaining those concepts with us this afternoon on this show.
Thank you.
Magbabalik pa po ang Kababayan LA. This time, let's talk about beauty, and more particularly beauty on the SAG Awards red carpet. It's exciting. Don't go away.